Hello everyone. Today we have Dr. Intizar Mehdi with us. Dr. Intizar Mehdi is a pediatric hemat-oncologist and a bone marrow transplant specialist. Welcome, Dr. Intizar.
Hello.
Dr. Intizar, the question which comes to everybody's mind about pediatric cancers. Uh, uh, what the pediatric cancers are, and what are the different types of pediatric cancers which we see today?
Okay, I think the first question which comes into mind is whether children really get cancer. And the answer to that question is from the available data that we have in our country, the incidence is about 38 to 124 in a million. So if we make it more simpler, it becomes about 1 in 10,000. So unfortunately, that's the truth. So out of every 10,000 children, one child will develop cancer. And when you talk about childhood cancers, out of 100 children that develop cancer, the three common types of cancers that we see in children are leukemia, lymphoma, and brain tumors. And then there are some less common childhood cancers, like we have kidney tumors, Wilms tumor, abdominal tumor like neuroblastoma, we have eye tumors, we have bone tumors like osteosarcoma, Ewing sarcoma, and we have eye tumors like retinoblastoma, just to complete the list. But the common three are leukemia, lymphoma, and brain tumors, which form the major chunk.
1 in 10,000 is quite a number, quite
Yeah.
an alarming number. So, what signs and symptoms usually an individual should look out for in children basically, and how does a pediatrician can help a parent in identifying it?
Yeah, so I think for children who are already diagnosed with cancer, then the parents have to look out for something else. But here we are looking at how to monitor healthy children, and if they develop any signs and symptoms, what are the red flags or any alarm bells. So I think the most important message here for the families is, please do not get worried by the word cancer. Yes, children can develop cancer, but then you do not have to directly come into a touch with a pediatric oncologist to know that your child has had cancer or not, because the instance, even though it is 1 in 10,000, what is important is you have to have a close follow up with your regular pediatrician. So your pediatrician is a person who has looked after your child right from the time of being born, probably before that, when the mother is pregnant. From that time they are involved in the care, and then routine follow up, vaccination and stuff like that, because the signs and symptoms of childhood cancer are so vague and non-specific. For example, if you talk about leukemia, which is the commonest cancer in children, it constitutes about 1/3 of all childhood cancers. So leukemia, the signs and symptoms are so non-specific. For example, prolonged fever, unexplained weight loss, sometimes getting lymph glands in the neck, liver or spleen enlargement, tummy becoming big, and sometimes the blood counts dropping. That means the hemoglobin platelet or WBC count becomes low or high. That is when it is suspected. So what is important is, if you are in a close follow-up with your regular pediatrician who's been looking after your child all the time, he or she would know when it is the time to draw a line to say that now I am suspecting that there must be something more serious than the common problems, and then make a referral. If you talk about lymphomas, for example, the second common childhood cancer, usually again here the presentation is non-specific. That means they may have glands in the neck which have been there for some time, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, longer, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So glands in the neck commonly come in children with every common infection like tonsillitis, for example, which is not something which is to be worried about as far as cancer is concerned. But when these glands are present for a longer time, they may not be painful, because many times we think, okay, there are glands but they are not painful. So generally they are not painful, but if they are there for a very long time, or there is unexplained weight loss, unexplained fever for a very long time, or glands elsewhere in the body, or the tummy becoming bigger, then they may be the early signs and symptoms of lymphoma. Now again, for brain tumor, the red flag here is early morning headache with vomiting. It is characteristic of a serious tumor present in the brain. So for example, children normally develop headache which comes usually by the end of the day, which may be related to actually the visual problems. They may need an ophthalmic checkup, or they may have sinus kind of headache. The characteristic is different. Early morning headache with vomiting is the early sign of space occupying lesion. That means there may be a brain tumor. By the time children develop other problems like visual problems, squint, or paralysis or seizures, then by then the tumor has actually grown to quite bigger size. So to pick it up early, every morning the child is getting up with a severe throbbing headache followed by vomiting. That is a red alarm to do a brain imaging to find out if we are dealing with a brain tumor kind of thing.
Is there any genetic association of pediatric cancers or childhood cancers?
Yeah, so this is a common question which most of us get into our minds. I mean, after we have diagnosed a child with cancer, immediately the next question comes, why my child? Why this happened? So unfortunately, 95% of childhood cancers do not have a direct cause. That means only in 5% of the cases we can figure out there may be some kind of reason why the child has developed. 95% of the time there is no known cause. So out of these remaining 5%, there are some genetic predispositions. Like for example, children born with Down syndrome, children born with some other neurological problems like ataxia telangiectasia, neurofibromatosis, all these by itself are very rare diseases. So your pediatrician would know that if your child is born with one of these neurological disorders or Down syndrome, then the chance of developing cancer is higher. So there the follow-up period and screening strategies would be there. But for general population, hereditary predisposition for childhood cancer is very, very less.
What are the chances of cure in pediatric population or children who may get diagnosed with cancer, and how about the survival benefit to these patients?
That's something very positive. So we have to be very positive about it. The moment a child is diagnosed with cancer, we should not take a back step and say, oh, cancer. Cancer is not equivalent to something like death. Childhood cancer, majority of the time it is curable. And the reported literature says that childhood cancer survival rate is in the range of 70 to 80%. And in our center here, we've been able to achieve that with multimodality approach, interdisciplinary meeting, and so about 70 to 80% of the childhood cancers will be long-term survivors and they'll be cured for good. So that's the message we want to give.
That's quite positive information which we have. Uh, so we have also heard about bone marrow transplant. Since you are one of the specialists in bone marrow transplants, uh, where all is bone marrow transplant indicated, or where all do we which child is best suited for it?
So the indications of bone marrow transplant in children are in certain oncological and some non-oncological diseases. Oncological means cancers. So leukemias which are high risk, or those who have come back after initial treatment, or those who have bad genetic or molecular features may benefit from allogenic bone marrow transplant. Some solid tumors like brain tumors and bone tumors and sarcomas, when they have relapsed, and lymphomas when they have relapsed, they may benefit from autologous transplant. More importantly, the indication of bone marrow transplant allogenic especially is in non-oncological disorders in children. That means thalassemias, other hemoglobinopathies like sickle cell anemia, aplastic anemia, other bone marrow failure and immunodeficiency syndromes.
That was crisp and quite informative. So, Dr. Intizar, any message which you want to give it to our audience, especially the parents, whose children are undergoing treatment for cancer, or are fighting the battle?
I think the message here is, yes, children can develop cancer, but just by hearing about it, let's not get too much worried and panic about it. You are in safe hands as long as you are with a good pediatrician on a regular follow-up. When there is slightest hint that your child may be developing cancer, or there may be a suspicion, they would make a referral to the appropriate specialist. What is important at that point of time is you reach the right person at the right center, and the first time is the best time for your child. Majority of childhood cancers are curable, and they will be long-term survivors, and they will be normal individuals, and they will be the future not only for the family but also for the society and for our country.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Dr. Intizar. I'm very sure that our audience, our viewers will definitely get benefited with the information. Because if you have any further questions or comments, don't forget to write it in the comment box below. Thank you so much.